Folks, I've got some very troubling news to report right now. MAGA Republican Congressman Andy Ogles of Tennessee has proposed a bill that would amend the 22nd Amendment to allow Donald Trump to run for a third term. The language of the proposed amendment reads as follows, quote, "No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than 3 times, nor be elected to any additional term after being elected to consecutive terms, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice." If you notice there, it appears that Andy Ogles, in that second part of the amendment's language, where he said nor be elected to any additional term after being elected to 2 consecutive terms, is designed to prevent somebody like President Obama running for a third term.
A Republican congressman just introduced a new constitutional amendment to allow Donald Trump to serve for a third term. Trump told Congress, "I suspect I won't be running again unless you do something, unless you say, he's so good, we have to just figure it out."
Republicans want Donald Trump to serve 3 terms. Republican Congressman Andy Ogles has drafted a constitutional amendment that would allow Donald Trump to serve 3 terms. In the amendment, it says no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than 3 times. That means that Donald Trump could serve 3 terms if this amendment were to be passed. Representative Ogles issued a statement in which he said President Trump's decisive leadership stands in stark contrast to the chaos, suffering, and economic decline Americans have endured over the past 4 years. He has proven himself to be the only figure in modern history capable of reversing our nation's decay and restoring America to greatness, and he must be given the time necessary.
Resolution put forth in the U.S. House of Representatives is seeking to allow current and future presidents to run for a third term. This was introduced yesterday by Republican Representative Andy Ogles from Tennessee. The resolution would amend the 22nd Amendment, which limits presidents to 2 terms.
Be sentenced to reverse the Colorado Supreme Court, although we don't think it's necessary to get into consequences because the law is clearly on our side.
You keep saying term limits. There are other presidential qualifications in the Constitution. Age,
yes,
citizenship. There's a separate amendment, the 22nd Amendment, that doesn't permit anyone to run for a second term. We have a history of states disqualifying, not all, but some, of disqualifying candidates who won't be of age if elected. We have a history of at least one state disqualifying someone who wasn't a U.S. citizen.
Right.
Are your arguments limited to Section 3?
Not quite. The question, Justice Sotomayor, is whether the state is violating term limits by adding to or altering the extant qualifications for the presidency in the Constitution. Now,
so you want us to say, I'm wondering why the term limits qualification is important to you.
Because
are you setting up so that if some president runs for a third term, that a state can't disqualify him from the ballot?
Of course a state can disqualify him from the ballot, because that is a qualification that is categorical. It's not defeasible by Congress. So a state is enforcing the Constitution when it says you can't appear on our ballot if you've already served 2 terms as president. The same
if they're underage when elected, and the same if they're not a U.S. citizen.
The same if they're not, the same if they're not a U.S. citizen for sure. The age is a little more nuanced because you can imagine a scenario where the person is 34 years old at the time of the election, but he turns 35 before inauguration.
Well, then that would come up. That would probably come up to us at some point. The state would make a decision and say he's ineligible, and we would have to decide that question then. But my point is, so what? Adding qualifications to what term limit is your argument based on?
You're changing.
I'm just confused.
Okay, with respect to maybe I'll start with the age example. Mm-hmm. If a state like Colorado says you can't appear on our presidential ballot unless you are 35 years old on the day of the election, that would be a violation of term limits. Because there could be a 34-year-old on the day of the election who turns 35 before inauguration day. What Colorado has done here, what their Supreme Court has done, is similar, because under Section 3, President Trump needs to qualify during the time that he would hold office. And the Colorado Supreme Court is saying to President Trump, you have to show that you would qualify under Section 3 now, at the time of the election, or at the time that we, the state Supreme Court.
Kamala Harris is looking real good now, huh? I said Kamala Harris is looking real good now, huh? All you motherfuckers who voted for this man. We sat here, we told you, we warned you, we even put it in your face and tried to fucking remind you.
Y'all wanted to play the fuck around game so goddamn badly. Well, you are fixing to find out very bigly.